Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever spent weeks interviewing a candidate who absolutely crushed every whiteboard algorithm you threw at them, only to watch them totally freeze up when trying to push a single feature to production a month later, well, you know firsthand that the traditional technical hiring process is just broken. It's frustrating, right? And it's an incredibly expensive cycle. So today we're dismantling that deeply flawed process. We're unpacking the philosophy behind ExpertOnHire, specifically focusing on what they call the portfolio advantage and the mechanics of capability-first hiring. If you're exhausted by the noise and the endless guesswork of modern technical recruitment, you're going to love this. We're breaking down exactly why real, tangible projects matter way more than perfect interview performances. Let's jump right into it.
To really grasp this shift, we have to start by asking the one fundamental question that resumes and certifications completely fail to answer. Can this person actually build great software? In today's hyper-competitive tech industry, we rely so heavily on these documents packed with buzzwords, pedigrees, and perfectly formatted bullet points to gauge a candidate's potential. A candidate might have React, Python, or AWS beautifully bolded on their PDF, but let's be real. Those keywords are essentially just self-reported claims. A keyword doesn't guarantee that the person can sit down, figure out a complex problem, architect a stable app, and write clean, maintainable code. We spend so much time filtering for the right acronyms that we literally lose sight of the core competency we actually need. The absolute best, most reliable answer to this fundamental question doesn't, and honestly never will, come from a resume.
So, there's this stark contrast in how we evaluate talent today. The traditional view relies heavily on theoretical assumptions, basically what a candidate claims they know while sitting in a low-stakes interview room, or, a Zoom call. It turns into a game of who can recall the most syntax under pressure. But the evidence-based approach, that demands practical proof. Instead of simply listing technologies on a sheet of paper, a portfolio demonstrates exactly how those technologies have been applied to solve real-world challenges. Whether it's a sophisticated AI application, a complex cloud deployment, or even a meaningful open-source contribution, every completed project tells a concrete, undeniable story about an engineer's practical capability. It shifts the entire conversation from what I know to what I've actually done. Real work always speaks louder than carefully curated keywords.
And this leads us directly to the hidden cost of the modern hiring illusion. We've all met the great interviewer. You know exactly who I mean. The person who is incredibly charismatic, flawlessly explains big O notation on a whiteboard, and just aces every hypothetical scenario you give them. But when they join the team and it's time to maintain a messy legacy production system, they completely flounder. On the flip side, we have the simple resume engineer. They might not boast prestigious company names or a laundry list of expensive certifications, but they put their heads down, build outstanding applications, and actually solve business problems. By focusing solely on theoretical knowledge, organizations routinely pass on these brilliant builders and mistakenly hire great talkers who ultimately fail in the wild.
When you prioritize talkers over actual builders, the business impact is severe, and the stakes are incredibly high. It's not just a matter of a bad cultural fit. It creates a massive ripple effect across your entire organization. Think about what happens here. It directly leads to slower product development because your highly paid senior engineers are suddenly spending half their week debugging and fixing a junior hire's mistakes. That absolutely tanks your team's overall productivity. And of course, because you often don't realize the mistake until maybe 6 months in, you're forced to start the grueling hiring cycle all over again, hemorrhaging your recruitment budget. You're essentially turning what should be a straightforward talent acquisition process into a very expensive, very disruptive liability for your company.
Now, a portfolio isn't just a neat, colorful gallery of pictures or a hobbyist scrapbook. It is undeniable proof of a whole ecosystem of hard-earned skills. A working project proves that someone didn't just write a single, isolated line of code, but that they genuinely understand software architecture and scalable system design. If a project is live and functioning, it proves they know how to handle cloud deployment and how to debug in real time when things inevitably break. Because they always break, right? It proves they possess raw problem-solving ability and a relentless drive for continuous learning. That practical footprint, the scars they've earned in the tech trenches, so to speak, is vastly more valuable to a hiring manager than an hour-long theoretical discussion about how they might solve a problem.
For years, organizations have been desperately asking the completely wrong question. We spend hours debating, well, how well did the candidate answer our interview questions? But modern technical hiring requires a complete and total paradigm shift. We have to break out of that echo chamber and start asking, what has this engineer actually built? By shifting away from testing a candidate's conversational skills and instead validating their actual technical output, you get a true, unfiltered measure of their ability. Interviews, no matter how rigorous they seem, only provide a highly artificial, limited snapshot of a person under a very specific type of stress. Real, functional projects, those give you the complete picture of their day-to-day competence.
When you're looking at an engineer's portfolio, you can start asking much higher value questions. You aren't just looking at the code, you're looking at the why behind the code. Can they clearly articulate the technical decisions behind this specific architecture? Have they actually deployed these applications to a production environment, or do they only run locally on their laptop? Did this project actually solve a real business problem, or was it just a popular tutorial they copied from the internet? These capability-focused questions reveal whether a candidate can adapt to changing technologies, handle edge cases, and most importantly, actually contribute to your engineering team from day one, rather than needing 6 months of handholding.
So to solve this industry-wide problem, ExpertOnHire has developed a much smarter framework that bakes practical evaluation right into the DNA of the workflow. The traditional resume is immediately pushed aside in favor of evaluating real projects and portfolios first. From there, the process moves seamlessly into rigorous technical validation. Once those baseline skills are proven, AI-assisted matching is layered in to ensure precise alignment between the engineer's specific capabilities and the company's unique needs. Only after passing these structured, project-based assessments do they become a verified technical expert in the system, culminating in a successful, risk-free hire. It's a modern framework designed from the ground up to hire professionals who have already demonstrated their ability through real-world work.
Platform tools are what actively facilitate this shift from theory to practice. By combining AI-assisted talent matching with highly structured practical skill validation, the platform evaluates the actual complexity, the coding quality, and the business impact of an engineer's work. And that's whether they have one massive flagship project or dozens of smaller, highly specialized ones. It takes the guesswork completely out of the equation. Ultimately, by relying on these verified technical experts and portfolio-based evaluations, organizations experience significantly faster hiring decisions and a dramatic reduction in hiring risk. It's a purely analytical, evidence-based approach to building stronger engineering teams with absolute confidence.
Before we wrap up, we need to be incredibly honest about the severe limitations of our traditional hiring tools. Just think about it for a second. A resume only tells you where someone sat at a desk for a few years. It doesn't tell you what they actually accomplished there. A certification? Well, that just shows that someone has the discipline to study for and pass a standardized test. It absolutely doesn't mean they can apply that knowledge creatively. And an interview? An interview only proves how well someone communicates while being scrutinized under pressure. None of these things, not a single one, actually proves that the candidate can do the highly technical job you're hiring them to do.
It all boils down to one foundational truth that really should govern every technical hire you make from here on out. A portfolio demonstrates what someone can actually build. The most successful, innovative engineering teams in the world are not staffed by professional interviewees who know how to charm a hiring panel. They're built by quiet, focused professionals who have a proven, documented track record of transforming abstract ideas into tangible, functioning products. Projects prove performance. Plain and simple, the evidence is right there in the code.
As you head into your next recruitment cycle, you have a critical choice to make. Will you continue to hire based on theoretical assumptions and keyword matching, or will you demand hard proof of actual capability? Imagine what your product roadmap would look like and how much faster you could ship if every single engineer you hired was guaranteed to know how to build from day one. The future of technical hiring belongs entirely to organizations that evaluate real capability, not guesswork. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now go out there and build your next great team based on evidence.